Awesome. So we're on. So I'm here with Petter Dutton, who, if you're wondering, isn't on a fancy Zoom background. He's actually genuinely in sunny Geneva, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, very sunny. It's lovely. It's beautiful.
Making everybody jealous, locked in their houses in London.
No, it's great.
So we were just chatting before we came on, started recording, about one of the buzzwords that you've been trying to include more of, and it's funny actually because it's something that one of my producers in LA has been pushing in my production meetings as well, and that's the word inclusivity. Do you want to talk a little bit about why that word as opposed to, diversity?
Well, one of my friends and who's as a partner in our business, which is Human Equity Partners, he was explaining to me, and I loved the way he explained it. He said that diversity is great, but you're picking sections out where inclusivity means so inclusion means for all people. So you're including everyone in that. So he's kind of got me into this, and I much prefer the word inclusivity. It seems more powerful, and it seems, as I said, for all people.
Yeah, it's empowering, isn't it? Whereas diverse is almost a segregational word.
Yes,
whereas inclusivity is bringing everybody together and trying to stop people from seeing the differences in people.
I agree, totally.
How did you get into it, Petter? How did this become something that you have focused your so much of your life on?
I guess it's always been part of me. My background was originally sales and marketing, and I had a conversation with my cousin many years ago, who's a professional football manager. My background's quite heavily football as well, and we were just chatting, and he kind of, without knowing it, and he probably doesn't know to this day, he kind of inspired me to take a different direction. I went back to college. I trained for 5 years within mental health. I trained as a football coach at the same time, so I was kind of going from both. Previously, I'd done a child psychology course through Open University, so it was always, and I love reading philosophy and self-help books. So it always seemed something that was just in me, and I kind of just, when I started this, it just felt so natural just to allow the path to take place. So I generally don't chase things or force things. It just feels quite a natural process. I mean, even to the point now, I'm a counselling consultant for the Professional Footballers Association. So I work with professional footballers. I work with elite athletes as well through another charity. I volunteer for a charity in Barking in East London, and just working with what's labelled as vulnerable adults. So just these things just kind of slowly fell into place, and it just feels so right. I feel I don't work. It's not a job. I don't do a job. You see what I mean? It's just what I do. It's just what I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad you brought up professional sport, because that's one of the key areas where you see people who ostensibly to the viewing public have their life sorted,
Yes.
And there's so many examples. I was watching an interview with Tony Adams the other day, and talking about his journey into alcoholism and his journey out of alcoholism, and Paul Merson is another famous one of his teammates, and there's a huge list of them. And I remember watching an interview with Clark Carlisle, who I believe was at Burnley at the time, and was president of the Players Association or something. And he came across so eloquently, and he came across in this interview, he came across so tuned in, and you thought, this guy's got everything. He's a great footballer. He's playing in the Premier League, and he's clearly an intelligent guy. And then a couple of days later, there was the news article that he tried to take his own life. And it's shocking to sort of mere mortals to see their heroes in that situation. I'm assuming that's something that you've come across.
Oh, look! You mentioned Clark, and I can remember watching years ago a documentary that he did about mental health in football, and I remember him saying to one of his managers that I'm really struggling with mental health, and he opened up, And the manager, I think he said to the rest of the staff, which went out in TV interviews and that, oh, he's got the flu, because he couldn't say he had mental health issues. It was very taboo. It's gradually opening up, and some, people like Clark Carlisle, I think Aaron Lennon, who's played for Tottenham in England, these kind of people are kind of making it a little bit more less taboo, so people can open up. But in that environment, and I think from people on the outside, it's, you've got money, you've got the dream job, you've got the dream car, you've got the adulation. What's your problem? But Clark Carlisle's, just like you and I, we're just people. We feel, we think, we have anxieties, we have fears. He's no different, and I don't think sometimes people realise that. And yourself, the players receive a lot of abuse from the terraces, and now we have a thing called social media, right, where they can receive adulation and abuse as well.
I think in the arts it's a little bit, it's not easy, not by any stretch of imagination, but for me personally it's been quite easy, because I've been fortunate enough to early enough in my career have a film that I thought wasn't very good do quite well. And I remember consciously thinking that because it won an award, and I can remember some of the people I'd shown the film to before it won the award, and they'd said, yeah, I see why this could be better. And then it won the award, and those same people would turn around and say to me, oh, that's the best thing ever. That's amazing. Just because somebody somewhere else thought it was good enough to give it an award. And you sort of, and that moment for me was quite got a release, because it enabled me to see that it doesn't matter what I make as an artist, there will always be people who will love it regardless, just because I made it, even if it's trash. And there'll always be people that hate it regardless, even if it's brilliant, just because I made it. And so as an artist, it sort of becomes important that you become your own critic, and it comes back to what we were saying earlier about loving yourself, and keeping a check on yourself, and almost ignoring the nonsense, as it were. But it's obviously that's easier said than done. It's so hard to avoid it.
Yeah, it can be, but I think after time, self-reflection, having some faith in yourself and some belief and confidence, that can gradually come, and it's almost like if you can get there, things become so much easier. It's like you said, now I guess now you can comfortably make what you want to make and believe in it, and you'll get your critics, you get your adulation, but I guess as long as you're happy with it, that's the marker, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And you'd like to think it'd be the same for footballers or rugby players or whatever it happens to be, that they come off the field and they go, well, I know whether I played well or not. It doesn't matter whether the guy in C10 thought I was rubbish, or words that are slightly worse than rubbish that come out of their mouths. So one of the key elements to what I've tried to do with my film Anonymous, and this is something I really want to talk to people, working in mental health about. One of the areas that I think the film industry has fallen down in the past is when we deal with mental health, in my case, addiction with my film, we tend to focus on demonizing the substance, or enjoying, if you like, the entertainment factor of the destruction of a human being.
Sure.
Seeing somebody fall into disrepair is sexy and puts bums on seats, and therefore that's the films that get made. And what I've tried to do with my film is it's set in real time about a regular guy going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting for the first time. It's all set in one night. So it's his experience of walking through the door for the first time and meeting the people in the room, and therefore trying to make these people that are in the room, that are at different stages of their mental health recovery, but are relatable to different areas of society, but kind of pointing to them as heroes rather than villainizing the substance and the illness. Like, let's shine a light on the people that are recovering from this illness and say, these guys have achieved it. This Asian woman, this black man, this upper class guy, this lower class girl, or whatever it happens to be, are recovering and are doing so successfully. And that creates role models. And I think that's something that I feel like the film industry hasn't done enough of. there's not really a question to that, except to say that, do you agree that that's a something that needs to happen?
I think the word as you're explaining this, the word that came in my head was relatable, and I think you used it within that description. I think to be relatable is so important. You're not just delivering glamour, as you said. You're delivering something that's relatable. So it's relatable regarding the demographic, gender, wherever. It's where anyone can go, yeah, I get that. I've been there, or I may be going there, or I can understand what that person's going through, or I can feel empathy for that person. Mm-hmm. So it's relatable. I think is very important.
Yeah, and I think as well, when we build characters, particularly in this day and age where we tend to be lambasted with superhero movies everywhere. Yeah. And superhero movies, of course, are the classic perfect good guy and evil bad guy, and nothing really in between. So you've got your heroes and villains, and anyone who's got a mental health issue is immediately going to identify more with this person because of their own insecurities than with this person. And we're not providing role models for these people. And I think that comes down to ensuring that all of your characters are like real people and have shades of grey. Like, nobody's perfect and nobody's awful either. Everybody's somewhere in the middle. And I think it's important that we portray that in the right way and don't subscribe to cliches. If there's a gay character, the most important thing about that character isn't that they're gay. If there's a trans character, the most important thing about that character isn't that they're trans, and their experience isn't related directly and only to that. And I guess that's the same for you when you're coming, bringing people into a community to aid with their recovery. Then it's important that the thing that unifies them is the affliction and the desire to beat that affliction. And it does, and you'll get I'm guessing a wide variety of people from all walks of life.
Yeah, look. For what I do, I get I get all different kinds of people, all different kinds of gender, all different kinds of. As I said, it's all different demographic. But when I sit with them, they're just people. They're just people, and I just see them as people. It's interesting what you're saying about films and characters and having all different sides to them. And I think, of course, there's some great films out there, but I think that art has slowly been lost. You can look at films like Dog Day Afternoon, and you go back to even stuff like Rocky and Superman years ago. You built a character, you built a love story, you saw vulnerable sides, you saw sides of them struggling mentally. So you built some characters, and you saw something that again, using that word relatable. I think a lot of that's gone missing. I don't know. Again, you're more experienced in the film industry than I am, but I feel a lot of that's gone missing.
I think you're right. I don't think there are, like I said earlier, the propensity to create the hero and the villain, and the focus on that means that the heroes we have aren't relatable, and the villains we have aren't relatable either. They're either funny or entertaining, but they're not relatable. You can't look at them and go, I know somebody like that. And that's, like you say, that's what's missing. And you mentioned Rocky, which is, one of my all-time favorites, and just a phenomenal piece of filmmaking. It wouldn't get made today.
No.
Nobody would touch it in modern Hollywood.
No, it's a love story, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Every single girl I ever dated, I made sure that they watched Rocky, because it's actually a girl's movie. It happens to be about a boxer, but it's actually, it's a love story. So yeah, one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. All right. Well, look, Peter, I'm not going to keep you any longer from the Geneva sunshine. You got some sunbathing to do, I'm assuming. What time is it now? Are you ahead of us, or is it?
Yeah, we're an hour in front.
Right. So it's about 6:30 there now.
Yeah, about 6:30. Yeah.
Right. And look at the weather at 6:30.
I know, it's wonderful.
I will let you get back to it, Peter. But listen, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anywhere people can find you if they want to reach you? Social media handle?
Yeah, I'm on. I can't remember them actually. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. So my Twitter is. Let me get this right. Let me think. I can't even think of it.
We can put it in there. Go on.
Yeah, if you can put it in, I can't remember.
We'll stick it in. We'll put it in the thing underneath as well, and
sure.
And do check Peter out, and in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Geneva experience, and hopefully get back to the UK safe and well.
Sure. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.